everybody, and welcome to the Miniature Showcase. The Miniature Showcase takes a look at different miniatures from different manufacturers. And today we're going to have a look at three different kinds of miniature packs. We're going to have a look at first the free sprue that we got with Wargames Illustrated 403. And then we'll have a look at the Voltigears pack. And then we'll have a look at the Engineers pack, Blisters from Warlord Games. Now the first set we'll have a look at is actually the free sprue that was given free with Wargames Illustrated 403. Now all these all these figures are painted by SL. Let's have a look at the first figure. It's a Voltigear. You can notice the Voltigear with its yellow and green plume. It's a very nice figure. It's in marching pose, which is actually quite nice. Most of the figures in the free sprue is marching pose. As you can notice, the detail level on this figure is very, very high. And I think for a free figure, for free sprue, I think it's well worthwhile. And then we have a look at a variation of the Fusilier or the line. This one's quite nice. It's got a little cooking pot on the back of the backpack. Again, although it's a free sprue, the figure is quite characterful with a lot of different options that you can put onto the figure to make it more unique and more yours, I suppose. It's nice as well that they put in a Grenadier figure. And the Grenadier, here you can see, it's got the red plume. Of course, you've got the shackle, or the bearskin plate, and the mustache, which was a must for most Grenadiers. In terms of sampler sprue, I think this was great because you get, I think, 3 different variations of the line infantry in a formation, and 2. You can actually build 2 of a certain type. And here is the other variation of the Fusilier or the line infantry. This one has a different shackle design as opposed to the first one we saw much earlier. And I like the fact that there's actually a little garland of garlic hanging from the side of the backpack. All these small subtle bits of detail, it adds a little bit more character to the sprue. And I think it's also kind of great that they didn't just give just a random sprue. They gave a sprue with a little bit amount of detail, a little bit amount of variation and options, which is great. I mean, it's a free sprue, you know. Moving on, we'll have a look at the French Engineers. Now this is a blister pack that comes with 5, but we're gonna have to look at 6 figures, and I'll tell you why in a bit. The first pose is what looks like the character about to butt something with at the butt of its musket. It's very dynamic. The pose is very, very nice. The figures are made out of metal, so it's also substantial with a nice pose. Also, here's another nice pose. Here's the engineer with an axe. He could either be posed to be breaking down a door, or building chopping down wood, but I like the fact that they put this in there, so it's again, very dynamic. The poses are very, very nice, and again, I think poses like this are quite fun to have. But that's not all. We've got another engineer in a different sort of pose. He looks like he's about to take a swipe baseball style with his musket, and he's about to get prepared to either knock a cavalryman off the horse, or maybe slap an incoming infantryman in the face. He looks like he didn't have time to reload his musket, and it's quite characterful. That this figure itself, if you were to build a diorama around it, already tells the story. Moving on, we've got an engineer with a shovel. Now this is kind of great because it actually shows you that it is an engineer figure. I mean, you couldn't get much more engineer in quotation marks with an actual shovel in the hand. So it's kind of interesting that he's got one hand with a musket and one hand with the shovel. So I think he's about getting ready to like do some work, which is kind of great. Then moving on, we've got what looks like the engineer getting ready to either bayonet something, or he's pretty much looking up. He looks like like he's facing off against a cavalryman or something, which is great. I like the fact that all his engineer figures come with options in the blister, which is great. I think Warlord's decision to do that in a blister is kind of great. There also is an extra engineer here. Now, this is the only one in this set that's plastic. Now, it's not from the actual blister pack, but it was actually taken from another plastic kit in order for there to be 6 engineers, because SL intended to play shops practice, I think, with these figures, and it did 6 to make a set. Moving along, we have the Napoleonic Infantry Voltigeurs in skirmish form, and here you can see this is quite nice action pose. You can see the Voltigeur getting ready to shoot at something, or taking aim at something in a grey coat. I think the pose on this one is quite dynamic, but if you look at just after looking at the engineers, this pose doesn't seem so solid and so all put together. It looks like he's leaning forward a bit too much. But yeah, the next one we're gonna have a look at is another Voltigeur, and this time he's kneeling. Perhaps he's about to load up his musket with either a new ball, or maybe some gunpowder. But it looks like he's ready. He's already fired a shot and is getting ready to fire another. The next Voltigeur looks like he's in movement, so he's moving forward. There's some movement in this figure, and I like the fact that the grey coat actually moves with him. There's some dynamic movement in the coat. A lot of these historical figures sometimes get overlooked in terms of like how they are sculpted and how they're designed, and I think figures like this, or looking at figures on its own and not in a group, it's kind of great, because you can actually see the work that's been put into this single figure. Again, another figure that could be great as part of a diorama. Now we have a look at this figure. This figure is about to take aim. The reason I'm doing videos like this is because in our hobby, we tend to go through figures quite quickly, and sometimes we don't stop to actually appreciate each figure on its own. And this video is not in any way backed by Warlord Games. I do not receive anything from Warlord Games, but this is just my opinion. It's great to have a look at each figure and enjoy each figure for what it is, and hopefully this showcase will give you some idea of the good stuff that's out there, or actually the good stuff that's being made. The next Voltigeur is one who looks like he's taken a fire, and he's probably reaching for his ramrod to reload his musket. This figure is well, I think it's nice that the figure is in mid action, like he's already taken a shot and he's like reloading. It's something nice to consider. Again, a very nice figure to put in a diorama if you're gonna make one. And I think the Warlord Games figures qualify for a small diorama. So getting a blister pack, if you're not into gaming, and just building it up as a small little scene, it's a great idea. Here we have the last of the Voltigeurs, and this one looks either like he's marching on, like it's been a long march forward, and he's like struggling to march forward, or he is moving from one cover to another. And that's kind of great, because if a figure can tell you what's going on, or at least give you some hints, or allude at what's happening, which is great. I think that's great sculpting. So kudos to the sculptors who managed to put all of these figures together. It's some really, really great work, some really dynamic figures. And all of these figures, by the way, are in 28mm. Now, from time to time, I'll be featuring single models, and yeah, single models from regiment box sets or army box sets, simply because there's so much work that's been put into the figures, so much work that's put into sculpting the figures and designing the figures, that I think it is great. Like, take a moment, look back, and enjoy the figures on its own. Yeah, so that's pretty much the miniature showcase for this round. If you like what you see and you want to enjoy more figures, or you want to have a look at more figures, stick around, because we're definitely going to be covering more and more figures on its own. Painting figures is part of the hobby. Collecting figures is another part of the hobby. But I think a really big part of the hobby is appreciating really nice figures. I think that's what makes painting figures or collecting figures even more enjoyable. So yeah, so if you enjoyed this, please leave a like and a subscribe, and don't forget to enjoy painting those figures.